Hey guys, this is Rez. In this video, we're going to get started on IntelliJ, in programming basically. So if you open up IntelliJ, again, this is going to be the IDE for us. It's a really strong IDE. I really like it. You could do a lot of stuff with it. You should get a welcome screen, something similar to this. If you don't, read it, press next, figure things out. You're pretty smart. Inside the configure, if there's anything to figure out, should probably be in settings. Let me just check. Well, actually, you could go through it. If you have any questions, just mention it in the comments or something. What we're gonna do is gonna create a new project. Give it a second. My computer's running slow. Been doing a lot of stuff. I should close. You'll see something like this. Where in the IntelliJ you could actually have multiple different types of applications, as you could see on the left side. What we want to do is start with Java. We just want to learn how to create an application, so forth, so on. You could ignore additional libraries and framework. We're just gonna go simple Java. Make sure your the Java version is selected properly. Notice again we're talking about different versions that exist. So here you see 11, 1.8, 9. And to be honest, they're really weird because this is Java 8, this is Java 9, and this is what I was telling you about previously with versions. You could just ignore it. What you want to do is, in your case, I would say just go with the latest version of the JDK. Make sure you're pointing towards it. So usually when you install the JDK, it should go and save itself in program files /Java, right? If you can't find it, reinstall your JDK, figure where it's installing, look at what it says. Don't always click next without reading. You never know what happens. Actually, there was this one wonderful company where they knew no one reads the copyrights and accept these terms things. And what they did was inside the terms they said the first person to call us will get $1,000 or something like that, $5,000. And it actually took 6 to 7 months before someone called them, which is crazy. Now, anyway, as you press next, you'll get to a screen where it says project name, project location, and a bit of other information. What we're gonna do is just call our project first project, let's say. And notice the project location, this matters. So you see all of my stuff is going to download. This is not what I want. Usually your default location is somewhere on your documents or something called, let me see, something with projects, I can't remember, idea projects, and that's fine too. I'm gonna say there. Inside idea project, I want to create my first project, right? So you decide where you want. Content root, this looks good to me, this looks good to me. And we're gonna press finish. So it says the directory doesn't exist. You want to create it? Yes. You could read the tips. They're usually there to make you type faster or find things easier. I'm gonna close that for now. I always leave it on every day. Just read one tip. Eventually you catch up. Another thing I like to do is to go online, print out a cheat sheet of all the shortcuts that's possible inside your IDE. It makes your life easier. Now, coming into the windows, you'll notice that there's really nothing there except for this side project part. If you click here, you could open it. Inside the side project, we're gonna open this first project. You'll notice there's actually 3 main things here. First project, external libraries, and scratches and console. At the beginning, we're gonna ignore everything else except for this first project. And inside that, you'll notice 3 major files. The idea, the .idea is for the IDE, and the first project IML, again, same thing. You could ignore these 2 things as well. What's interesting is the SRC, which stands for source. This is where we're gonna put all of our code inside of, right? For now, what we're gonna do is right-click on that, new, and we're gonna create a new Java class, right? Inside the Java class, we're gonna call it our, let's say, main or entry or start. In this case, the good term would be main. Why do I want to call this main? Well, eventually we're going to have hundreds or thousands of Java classes here. And we could only have one main door, one entry to our application. We can't have multiple, right? So having a lot of files here will be kind of disoriented. We don't know which one's which, or where is my entry to my application, without having a good naming system. And eventually you'll find other ways of doing this, but for now, I'm going to create a Java class called main. Now we're going to ignore this public class main over here. Let me go on full screen, 1 second, presentation mode. So for now, we're going to ignore all of this. We're going to explain it later. What we need to do is to create this entry that we were talking about. And it has to be within these parentheses. This is something really important. Stuff must be within the parentheses it belongs to. We're going to talk about this later. But for now, all our project, all our Java application will always be within these two parentheses. Within these two parentheses. So they're going to be encapsulating everything. And inside there, we want to, this is something cool from having a IDE. As soon as you type in the main, it will autocomplete for you. So if you're not using IntelliJ, you will need to have to type all of this out. And for now, we're not going to explain how it is, but notice that this main is a keyword that's reserved for the entry of your application. And again, you're only allowed to have one entry to your application. This is important. And as soon as you do it correctly, you should see something like a play button beside. Notice it's the play like a video. You click on it, run main, and your application should start. And at the same time, as soon as you finish building, so it's going to compile your code into something that the computer could run. As soon as it finished compiling and running it, you'll notice it's going to finish right away. And this is because there is nothing being done in our application. But again, remember that this is our entry to our application. You're going to see a lot of these, which we call functions, coming in the next couple of videos. The first thing we want to do is we want to create some sort of storage for us to remember. Actually, before we even do that, the first thing we want to do is to be able to print on this console. And that's like something of a classic that everyone does. So to be able to print on this console, you'll need to do the specific command. Again, we brought the language as high as possible, but it's still not full-on English. So this command is going to be translated to how to write to the console. So if you're in the IDE, you most likely could type in SOUT, which automatically will fill in the whole thing for you, which is system.out.println. And in the middle of those parentheses, you could open the quotes here and write in hello world. Now, as soon as you do this, where's my mouse? I lost my mouse. My mouse is stuck. 1 second. I think there's, okay, there we go. As soon as you type in this and you press play, you'll happen two things. One, on your console, it will show hello world. Just as you typed it, exactly as you typed it in between those quotes. The second thing that's going to happen is it's not going to allow you to play. It's going to get this thing we call a compile error. Something in there did not translate back downwards, as we were talking about. So let's say if I forgot to put one of these parentheses and I try to run it, gives me an error. This is a compile time error. Basically, you did something that the computer couldn't translate back downwards. So here I'm missing the parentheses, or you could have had, I forgot to close something. I forgot to close my quotes in this case, right? And try to read those errors as you're gonna see them coming a long time. You're gonna see them coming back and forth because we're new to this. I forgot to put a semicolon at the end. All right, so these are stuff needed. Now, a couple things to notice. This is a function. We'll talk about functions later. Every function will require parentheses. That's how you know it's a function. If they don't have a function, it's not. If they don't have a parentheses, sorry, it's not a function. And at the end, you need to end all your statements So all your commands, all your instructions by a semicolon. Now, this is not enough to print to the screen. And again, one thing to note, let's go a bit further before I go to variables. One thing to note is you have print ln, which means print line. So what it does is gonna print you hello world, and as soon as it reaches the end here, it's gonna go to the next line, right? It does that automatically. Now, if you would have done, let's say, a print, and let's say you do another print, and let's say you do another print ln this time, and let's say we leave it blank, we don't put anything. Actually, let's put something, let's say 1, 2, 3. Now, this is gonna print hello world and then bring the cursor to the next line, while this is gonna print Reza and leave the cursor at the end of the A. So wherever you left, it's gonna continue from there. So it should be hello world, go to next line, Reza, then move right beside it, then 1, 2, 3, and then go to next line. So again, the print ln, the new line is at the end of whatever you outputted, right? If it doesn't make sense and there's still some stuff you don't understand, vary this composition until it makes sense. Don't wait in the future. This is one of the mistakes I see a lot of times. It's like, oh, I don't understand it, but I'll eventually get it. One thing people don't understand in programming, it's gonna add stuff. It's not where you use a formula here and that's it. It's none of those. You have to keep on learning, adding. You're gonna be using 100 other things. You wouldn't remember which is what if you don't understand it completely from the start. And if it's still stuff to figure out, we'll get there eventually. Second to understand is let's say main thing to remember is that computers are stupid, and whenever I code, so whenever I come into my program, I need to access my entry point, which is this. And from the entry point, so from line 3, my code is gonna be executed one line at a time. One line at a time from top to bottom. So if this line is not finished, this line cannot start. Does that make sense? Sometimes you'll notice the lines have more things inside that, but this is for further class. Just remember, it's always top to bottom, left to right. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Congratulations, you have your first application with print, and the next one we'll talk about variables. See you then.